basically just introduction, like just trying to define some terms in testing, like what is software testing, what are the types of software testing and all. So this week we are going to be going deeper, and we'll basically be majoring on API testing this week. So we're trying to cover everything about API testing. And okay, I gave assignment last week. I don't know if you have any question or anything that you don't understand, you can let me know also. And let me confirm that everybody can hear me before I continue.
Can hear you over here, sir.
Thank you. All right, so I think we can start. So API testing. I also gave assignment last week that what is API, right? If I remember correctly. I'm not sure if anybody tried to do that. So we try to cover like what is API testing, what is API itself, the testing method, the best practices, and all. That's what we'll be looking at this week. And let's start. So understanding APIs and what is API testing. So the acronym API actually stands for Application Programming Interface, which basically it enables communication and data exchange between software systems. We understand that later. So what is now API testing? API testing validates the functionality, the reliability, and security of APIs. It ensures they meet specified requirements and perform as expected, like they are doing what they are supposed to do in summary. So API validation ensures that the API functions correctly and returns the expected results. So it also verifies that the API handles errors and exceptions appropriately. So today I said I'll be using Postman, right? And I think I remember to I told us last week that we should download Postman. So how many people downloaded Postman? Let me know in the chat. If you're having issues, you can also send it so we know. Because I'll basically be using Postman today. I'll be sharing my screen basically in Postman. I just want to run through this slide first quickly in the next 5 minutes. Okay, so I want to take us through software testing life cycle, like software testing itself, the life cycle of testing. And if you remember last week, I talked about software development life cycle and where test comes in. So if you remember correctly, I started with requirement analysis also. It's also testing life cycle also starts with requirement analysis. This is where you define the testing scope. Like this is where you understand the system. Because if you want to test something and check the correctness, the reliability, you have to know that system in and out for you to know what you are testing, for you to be able to criticize something that, oh no, this is not how this is supposed to work. For you to be able to do that, you need to understand the system very well, in and out. Then you move on to test planning. This is where you like strategize how do you want your tests to go? What's the duration? How will it happen? Who will do what? That's test planning. It's basically a document that is prepared and you share with stakeholders and they will review it and all. It's done by like if you have test manager in your company or a lead and all. So test development, this is where you design your test cases. I think I'll be speaking more on test cases next week. So next week we'll be talking about web application testing and I'll be going deeper into designing test cases too. Probably you can use some tools or just use Excel. Then your test execution is the next, where you run your test cases, like where you actually do your testing. This is the major aspect now. After that, you will discover some things that are not working perfectly, or some things that you observe that, okay, this can get better. So that's where your test reporting comes in. This is also very important because this is what will define everything you've done. Like, this is when they will know that, okay, you are working. And it has to be as clear as possible and detailed, not too detailed, but when they see it, they can understand everything without you being there, without them having to call you that, oh, sorry, what do you mean? What are you trying to communicate here? Then this last part, test closure to analyze the outcomes. Okay, so moving on. So when you are doing your API testing, there's something we call HTTP status codes. I think I will explain that later. So let me just run you through Postman so that I'll not just be saying theory, and you will not understand. So I want to reshare my screen. Hope you are following me. So basically, this is my Postman, and you can customize the theme to give you any color you want. So don't, this is not special. I just change the themes. And then from here, you can see file, you can see settings. So I can change my themes here. Let me change it to dark. Yeah. But this white is the default when you just download it, but I prefer dark. Yeah. So this is Postman. There are other tools you can use for your API testing, actually. It's not just Postman, but Postman is like the most popular, and for the purpose of this training is what I'll be using. So from the left hand side here, you can see collections, you can see environment, you can see flows, you can see history, and you can see this other icon, configure workspace sidebar. Yeah, all these tabs that are open down are APIs that I've tested in the past, so I'll be closing some of them to create room. Okay, so a little bit further here, you can see some names here, and you can see a plus sign. So it says create new collection. So I'll be creating new, you can see new, you can see import, which means you can import a collection. A collection simply means collection of APIs that someone have created and they share it with you. So you can open it here as a file or as a folder, and it will open here. But I want to start afresh, so I will just click this plus. I will say create new collection, blank collection. So as you can see, it says new collection. So I'll just rename it to testing, and I'll save it by pressing enter. So you can see some things here. You can see overview, you can see authorization, and we have different type of authorization. You can see basic or bearer token and all. Then the script. Oh, I don't know. There's variables and there's runs. I will try not to rush and just take us slowly. Okay, now I want to add a request. So I will click here. I will say add a request. Now, let me just rename it from request to get request. Okay. So if you can see this icon here, like a drop-down icon that says get. So we have get request, we have post request, we have put, we have patch, we have delete, we have add, we have options. So for the purpose of this training, I will take us through this get, post, put, patch, and delete. Hopefully, yeah, this five. I hope we have enough time. So I will try to be a little bit fast. I, as you can see here, you can see params, you can see authorization, you can see headers, you can see body, scripts, and then settings. So now, which API do you want to test? So I try to get some mock API online that we'll be using to practice today. So let me just try and copy it. Hope you can see my screen and you can hear me.
Yes, sir.
All right. So when I say get request, what is get request? So get request basically retrieve data and it retrieves it from the server. So to my right here, if you can see my mouse, if you are following my mouse, you'll see send. And this is our API link that I just copied. So when they say API, application programming interface, it allows two systems to interact with each other, blah, blah, blah. This is it. And we're about to click send and see what will happen. So I will click save here to save it. And I will send. So it's loading. So it gives us a response. This is what they call response, API response. So when I sent it, if you notice something, you see body, you see cookies, you see header, you see test results, and you see this history. This is history. So I sent this request as at 4:18 p.m. and it gave us 200 status code. So now going back to my slide, there was HTTP status code in my slide. So this is why I have to call mail so that we can relate to what I was about to explain on my slide. So as you can see, 200 request successful. This server has responded as required, and it gave us 200 status code. So now I will go back to my slide and try to explain what is status code for us and different types of status code. Although I cannot really go through everything, so I will give us as an assignment to find out. But 200 means that everything is fine. It gave us a positive response, give us an actual response. There are other things. So I'll try and remove something from this API and see what will give us. This, you can see the link is https api.restful-api.dev/objects. I'll try to clear this st from the object and send it again and see what will happen. Let's see the status code it will give us. As you can see, it says 404 not found. I'm sure you must have. This is one of the most popular status code. 404 not found. So I'll put it back and I'll send it again. As you can see. Now I want to go back to my slide for a bit. Yeah, I want to assume that you can see my slide now. And if otherwise, just let me know. So HTTP status codes, we have 200, which means success. It indicates that the request was successful and we get a positive response. Yeah. and we have 400. So it's not just 200 that we have in 200 in this category. We have 201 and we have others. So I will send a link to the chat now so that we can actually read more on it because time will not allow us to go through them one by one. And trust me, these are one of the things they ask during interview sessions. And trust me, they will not ask you one of the popular one like 200. Where is the chat section again? Please let me know if you can see the link in the chat. I just sent a link to the chat. And let me know if it's opening. Try to open it, please.
It's not opening.
Yeah.
I think you can just copy and paste it on your browser or something.
You copy and paste it in your browser. Or how did you try to open it? Can anybody open it?
Yes, I can open my own here.
All
I
right.
have to copy
Yes.
and paste to my browser. And I'm done.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So you can go through them. It's a lot, actually. So I don't want to waste our time here going through them one by one. And where is my slide? Okay. So we have this category of 200, which means everything is okay. And we have category of 400. So 200 means successful response. And in that category, we have 200 okay, we have 201 created, we have 2223, and so on. We have category 300, which is very, very rare. And we have category 400, which is also known as client error responses. So when you get any of the 400, the most common one, like some of the common one there, we have 400, which is bad requests. We have 404, which is this not found. We have 401 unauthorized, and we have 403 forbidden. So I'll just try to mention, I'll try to explain a few of them. So when you send a request on a Postman and you get 400 bad requests, it means the server cannot process the request due to something is wrong in what you are sending to the server. So now I'm saying server, I'm saying clients. I hope I'm not confusing us. So let me try to explain something. There's something called client server architecture, where it's like a competing something. So is a competing model that distributes tasks between client and server. So you as the user that you are sending the request, you are the client. The server processing your requests. When you click that send, behind the scene, what process that thing and give you response is the server. I hope you get that. So now, when you get 400, any of the 400 is client error. So whether bad request, which means you are probably sending something that is not appropriate due to something that is perceived as a client error. Anything, it might be that your request, so you are not sending something or you are sending something that is not supposed to be. We will try to simulate that later on. 401 unauthorized, it means that the API has they've put some like security in place and you've not actually supplied the token or something. So it will like you are not authorized to actually access this resource that you are trying to access. That is, you must authenticate yourself, whether through password and username or something, or token. 403 forbidden. It means that the client does not have access to the content. 404 not found. It means that the server cannot find the requested resource. As you can see, when I clear part of that link, what did you see? You say 404 not found. So it means the server cannot find the requested resource. In the browser, this means the URL is not recognized. In an API, it can mean that the endpoint is valid, but the resource itself does not exist. So it can mean a lot of things. And then we have 500, which is server error. So when you see any of the 500, it means that something is wrong from the server side. And the most common one of it is 500, which is internal server error. So as a user of a system, this is why you as a tester, you are coming in to like check all these things beforehand. Users are not meant to be seeing this thing. Everything behind the scene, everything should be 200 and they should be doing everything they are doing and not encounter all this error. So that's why you as a QA, you are here, or as a tester, to test all these things and confirm that they are working perfectly. Although sometimes you will test them and everything will be fine. But later on, you just see that, oh, something goes wrong and they couldn't do it again. Something that was working before stopped working, which all this type of scenarios, you try and avoid them as much as possible because then you start hearing something like, oh, I thought you tested it and you certified it as passed, so what happened? All those stuff. Be very careful. So, server error responses, we have something like 500 internal server error. The server has encountered a situation it does not know how to handle. And we have other ones like 501 not implemented, 502 bad gateway, 503, and so on. You will read more about that. So moving on, types of API testing. We have functional testing to verify that the API functions correctly. It gives you the right responses. You validate the responses that they are actually things you're expecting. Performance testing, you evaluate API speed. I will talk more about that when we go back to Postman. Then security testing ensures data safety. This is where that 4.1 unauthorized comes in. So if you try to access some endpoints without providing the right authentication, you will get 4.1 unauthorized. And some API are not really, they are not authenticated like that. So anybody can access them, just like the one I used the other time. For example, you see that I didn't put any token, any bearer token or anything there. And it gave us response. There are some API that if I do that, it will give me 4.1 unauthorized. So after you've tested your API and all, you can, after they've done the integration means that you've tested the API, you've certified that they are fine. The front-end guy consumed the API in his own or our own application and put everything together. That's integration. Then you now go back to the UI and confirm that, oh, some of these things, they are actually still working fine. This is just one aspect of software testing that we are talking about, just the API alone. Next, when we are talking about the web testing, I think you understand it more. This UI testing that I just mentioned. So let's move on. So Postman, as I've already showed us, is a tool for API testing. There are also other tools, really. For for the purpose of this training, this is what I'll be using is user-friendly, support various HTTP methods, test automation capabilities. You can automate some of your tests. The simplified API testing process, easy test case creation and execution, collaboration features for teamwork. Yeah, there are some features in Postman that allow you to collaborate with other team members. And then validation strategies for API testing. The data type, ensure correctness. Data type is another broad topic on its own. You can find out more about the data type, actually. Data type, this is an assignment. The response time, verify speed. So this response time, when I go back to the Postman, I'll try to talk more about it. Error codes, which I've been explaining since. We have 200 category, 400, 500, and the rest. And then security, ensure safety. So before I talk about this, let's go back to Postman. Anybody else that can't see my screen? Somebody said they can't see my screen. I'm just saying this. Although I stopped sharing now, so I want to go back to my Postman. Where are you? Okay. Now we are back to Postman. Okay. So there was in the slide you saw something like response time, data type, validate your responses and all. So this is your response, and this is the response body. So this of type JSON. There's JSON. There are other types like XML. You can see the difference. There's HTML. It will try to display it for you as HTML. There's just as a plain text, and there's auto. So auto will basically select JSON. JSON is like the default. So this API return basically name of gadgets. You can see this. So when I say you should find out more about data type, we have different data type actually. I don't want to go into that today. We don't have that time. We have array, we have object, we have string, we have integer. So this whole thing like this, everything here, I will collapse it. This is an array. And here, each curly braces you can see here, separated by comma, they are objects. So this API return an array of objects. And we have like how many of it? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, like 13 of them. So you can see ID of one, name Google Pixel 6 Pro, data, we have color, Claudio, capacity 128 gig, the next data. So some of these websites that you go, like for example, Jumia, if you go to Jumia, these are what power them behind the scene. APIs basically. They are the one returning all those data that are displayed for you that you are seeing. So you are browsing and you are checking types of phone. Oh, this is Google Pixel Pro, this is that. Some images, some have images, some don't. Capacity, color, and everything. Most of this information are returned by API in your web application, even your mobile application, yeah? So I was talking about response time. For this API that we send the request, it took 527 milliseconds to return the response. As you can see here. There's also a feature that where you can save your response. If I click save, then to take me here and I can close it back. So if I come here, if you share this API with someone else, like let's say your front-end person that wants to integrate it, they can see the sample response that, oh, you've tested it and this is the kind of response it gave you when you tested it. So that's why that feature is there to save the response. Now I want to do another type of test. This is gets that we just do. I will try to add another. So this is a folder that I created here. A folder is also known as collection. Testing, I name it testing. So you can see these three dots here. If you are following my cursor, if I click it, there are features here. You see share, you see move, you see run collection, generate test, edit, add request, add folder, monitor, mock, create fork. We can't go through all this thing. Delete. You don't want to delete your collection, trust me. Then there is an add request. I'll try to add another request. So I would name it post request. And I will change it here to post. Please note this thing, get, post, put, patch. You can go and read more about it. If I try to explain it. Okay, I said get is to retrieve data, right? So post now is to create data. I will try to simulate that for you now. Hold on. Hope you are following me. So I pasted something here and I will go to my body. As you can see body here, right? So this is post request, and unlike get request, you have to send body something to the server. So I will click on, you can see none, you can see form data, you can see form URL encoded, you can see raw, you can see binary, you can see GraphQL. Depends on the type of API you are testing. Here, I'll be